Hello, I'm Wes Keene. Here's my audience, three amigos, and Jake. I'm Wes Keene, and I'm pursuing a career in law enforcement. Therefore, that will be my topic of the day. My audience is a group of males on from my dorm, a few of them also in a comms class. Like I said, the topic will be law enforcement and how it helps relate to social issues. My rhetorical purpose is to inform my audience about law enforcement, its purposes, just some basics about it, and careers in the field. My redemptive purpose is to inform my audience of how law enforcement can help preserve some of the things that God values, such as justice, life, property rights, things such as that. Law enforcement is important to everyone because it protects everyone and helps everyone in their day-to-day lives. My purpose and thesis is to inform the listeners of basic law enforcement and why it is necessary. So first of all, let's start with the purpose of law enforcement. The main purpose is to protect and serve the people. An example of protecting the people would be pulling over a reckless driver, pulling over someone that's speeding, someone that could get in a wreck and potentially cause fatalities. So an example of serving would be a police escort, something like that, directing traffic. And an example of enforcing the laws would again be like pulling someone over for speeding or reckless driving, things like that. So police officers and detectives are two different things, but they're both work within the realm of law enforcement. Police officers more do the enforcing of the law, like pulling people over, traffic violations, whereas detectives do more of the evidence gathering, things like that, solving murder cases. So really the duties of law enforcement depends upon their agency and also what title they have. So duties would be things like I just said. Law enforcement officers help protect the values of God. Like I said, they protect life. They help us from being murdered or things like that by enforcing the laws and providing criminals with jail time if necessary. So just some basic information about law enforcement. A little history of American law enforcement. It started out in, obviously, the colonial times. It was necessary from the beginning. Some of the first police departments were in Boston and Philadelphia, where a few of our audience is from, I'm sure. Yay, Boston. Law enforcement exists on local, state, and federal levels. This depends. These three factors will determine pay grade, duties, things like that. Local would be like a local sheriff's office, a county sheriff's office, city police. State police would be on the state level, and then federal would be Homeland Security or the FBI, things like that. Of course, the pay level will raise as the jurisdiction is broadened, so FBI would be higher paid than a local county sheriff in most cases. Law enforcement, some basic training that is required, mental and physical training. Training similar to that of military, push-ups, sit-ups, physical training, but there's also mental training, informing the officers of what laws they will be enforcing, things like that. Some common tools used by law enforcement would be like a tactical knife, things like that, different guns. Most officers carry a pistol of some sort. Federal agents and even many local officers carry an assault rifle for heavier combat if necessary. Other things would be like handcuffs, tasers, bulletproof vests, and canine units would have dogs. The requirements to become a law enforcement officer, there are not necessarily any educational requirements, but depending on the position, they can help very greatly at obtaining a career. FBI is a very difficult and competitive field to get into, so the more education you have, usually the better. Whereas local, there are more physical qualifications than anything, but still education helps in the promotion process. A career in law enforcement requires extreme commitment. You have to always be ready to go. Even when you're off duty, you have to be enforcing the law, protecting and serving the people. The future for law enforcement work is very promising. As the population continues to rise, so will jobs in the law enforcement field. So a career in law enforcement has a very bright future. It's also a very good field to get into because it offers many health benefits, usually better than any other job, as well as insurance. And after 20 years, most all agencies provide retirement plans of 50% or even some full salary retirement plans. So in conclusion, that kind of shows the purpose of law enforcement, a little bit about it, and why it's a good career to get into, how it serves the people, and how it protects some of the values that God values. Thanks.